I feel like this makes so much sense now.
Welcome, dreamer.
Hello.
Thank you so much for offering to share your dream with us today. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And tell us just a few things about yourself.
Sure. Well, I am a wife and mother, and I have 4 grandchildren. In my spare time, I like to put puzzles together, and I love to garden and interior decorate. And I am semi-retired and just enjoying life.
Excellent. It sounds idyllic.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So you have a dream to share with us. Please tell me your dream.
So I'm the same age as right now, and I am standing in my grandmother's kitchen. And this house, she's deceased, but it's where my mom and dad live right now. And it's daylight outside, and there are a lot of people around. I have the feeling it is a family event, but not for sure. My Uncle Mike is there, and just lots of people running around and lots of kids. And my son is there and his fiance, but they're children when they're actually adults. And everything is going really well. And my Uncle Mike is telling me some stories, and I look up out of these big windows and I just see the trees from the tops just part away, like something huge is coming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? And Uncle Mike tells me that there's this park nearby that has these dinosaurs, but that they're not harmful. They aren't as big as the ones that we see in the movies. You know, they're about so many people high and so many people wide, and that I just didn't need to worry about it. But as he says that, I am like terrified. So I go outside and I gather all the children and try to get them within the fenced area. And I'm getting them all in the fenced area. And I'm telling them, hurry, hurry, hurry. We got to get in the fence. We got to get in the fence. And so they're coming and they're dragging, and I'm yelling and screaming at them. And my son is right by the gate, and his fiance is on the gate goofing off, and I'm saying, stop goofing off, get in here. And he's kind of looking at me like, Mom, don't be yelling at my fiance. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, damage control, damage control. So I get them inside the fence, and then I go back in the kitchen, and I see this tail, this huge tail, just sweep across in front of me, in front of the windows, and this loud, terrifying, screeching noise that just melting me to the bone. And so I'm like, oh goodness, this is so much worse than my uncle is saying. So I close myself inside of a closet by myself, and it's a closet that is in my grandmother's bedroom, and I shut it, and I don't let anybody else in. And I feel I'm feeling the closet just move around, like, you know, totally move around. I'm hearing all the chaos outside the room, and then it stops. And I open the door, and when I come out, it's actually nighttime. And I notice that all the people are not there, but some are still there, a lot of the kids. But I don't see my uncle, I don't see my son or his fiance. I just see people I don't know. And so we are moving away from the house. We're like, we got to get away from this house. We got to find shelter. It, of course, is nighttime. It feels apocalyptic. I look up in the sky and I see all this activity, like lights, like maps lighting up in the sky. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is some type of invasion. And so I'm looking, because I'm looking for the kids, and it's dark. And I see all these kids kind of lined up about 3 feet from each other, just lined up under this shelter. And I see they're kids, and I see behind them like an adult version of themselves. And I'm like, they're not even aware that these adult versions of themselves are behind them. They're just looking out, bewildered. And then I see these mimics of themselves turn into these dinosaurs, and they actually start to devour the children. And I wake up in just a panic. Like, what just happened? It felt so real.
Girl.
That is my dream.
Wow.
Yes.
There is so much in that dream.
Yeah.
I heard some real elements in it that we can take as our clues to what is going on. So I think to start off with, Dreamer.
Yes.
That the setting of the dream is all important.
Yes.
And the setting of the dream, really, it's grandmother's house,
mm-hmm.
which parents currently live in.
Right.
So in therapy speak, this is family of origin writ large.
Okay.
What'd you call her? What'd you call your grandmother?
Grandma.
Okay. The setting of a dream is all important place to begin. So
Okay.
tell me just some words that you would associate with this place, your memories of it, your thoughts about it, anything like that. Just riff on it.
It was loving, familiar. It felt safe. Lots of good times, lots of pleasant things took place there.
Wonderful. Okay. Often, not always, but often when we've got this kind of idea around the initial setting of the dream, it does signal that whatever happens next and whatever comes out of this is going to be okay.
Okay.
But so this is where the dream begins, but it does not end here. There is a movement out of here. Okay. Right. And we'll also note that your parents, grandma is gone.
Yes.
Your parents live here now.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the bigger picture of this can also be a stand-in. Everything you've said can be a stand-in for childhood itself.
All right.
And indeed, all your experiences here, because it has been maintained in the family long into your adulthood and even in your children's growing up. This has got a lot with childhood as well as the whole lifespan, really.
Okay.
You know, it's a
wow.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So grandma's house, and now so we reserve the right to come back and add to this if needed.
Okay. All right.
All right. So the next thing, though, let's talk about is who all is there.
All right.
And who all is there? It's a crowd of people.
Yeah, a crowd of adults and a crowd of children.
Okay. Now, among the adults,
yeah,
who do you recognize?
The only adult that I recognize in the dream is my Uncle Mike. He is deceased. He died a couple months ago.
Okay.
He's in the dream. And then my adult child is in the dream, but he's as a kid.
That's
He,
right.
yeah. So that's the only actual adult that I recognize other than myself as an adult.
Okay. So let's take a moment to talk about Uncle Mike. And can you say when you had the dream, had Uncle Mike died?
No, it had been a couple months,
Okay.
and we weren't close,
Okay.
and I really don't have a lot of memories of him, and some memories are not great.
Okay. So to the extent you are comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
give some words around Uncle Mike.
Uncle Mike, I remember him drinking a lot,
Okay. Okay.
getting into trouble a lot, and maybe kind of distant,
Okay.
not real loving. I mean, not real touchy feely loving.
This is an interesting contrast to
Yes.
feeling around here.
Mhm.
And was this his mother?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Okay. You said a moment ago you really weren't close to this uncle, really.
Right. Right.
So that always is so curious as to why your dream would pick this particular
Yeah.
man, this particular uncle, this particular relative, this particular man to bring you this message, which was not quite right.
Yeah.
This message of the dinosaur isn't that bad. Don't worry about it. Not
Right.
as big as you think.
Right.
That's a really interesting curiosity to me. What would make your dream pick this? We're going to hang on to that idea as
All right.
we continue to go. All right.
Yeah.
Now, the other interesting thing is this contrast between adult child shows up as a child, and then
Yes.
later on, that row of children with their adult forms in the
Mm.
background.
Yes.
And so this contrast between adults and children, I'm throwing this out. You don't have to answer. I'm throwing this out.
Okay.
I'm wondering in if you'll forgive me for a little therapy speak, is if this is inner child stuff.
Yeah. I have a feeling it might be
Mm. Hmm.
when I woke up from the dream, because I immediately I called my sister
Uh-huh.
to get her take on it, because it rocked me.
Yes. Yeah.
It
So
still it still is rocking me.
so let me just say a word or two about what I mean by inner child
Okay.
stuff, because that's a term that gets thrown around in therapy a lot,
Yeah.
about doing inner child work. And basically, you know, in layman's terms, it's about revisiting
Mm-hmm.
childhood experiences from the adult point of view now, in order to resolve them, to heal them, at least come to some understanding of them, so that that aspect in our memory and in our psyche can come to rest, if you will. Doesn't keep us as stirred up in our current life. And I want to hasten to add this: our dreams come, dreamer, in service to the present and to the future. In other words, our dreams will not dredge up a bunch of old stuff just for the hell of it.
Okay.
Our dreams are wanting us to progress into that which we are meant to be.
Okay.
And if there's something going on in the psyche that's disturbing that, And that's what the dream will bring our attention to.
Right.
So the overall references to child, adults is leading me to make that suggestion, and we'll let that be where that is. Now, the other thing I want to say about children, and you recognize your own child as a child here, and it was a son. It's your
Yes.
son. Okay.
Yes.
And can you tell us your son's first name?
Sure. It's Zach, Zach.
Oh, I have a Zach too. And tell us a little bit about Zach, just a couple of characteristics he has.
He is kind, loving, generous, hardworking.
Okay. Again, in contrast to this. I mean, a definite contrast. Now, here's what I want to say also about children in our dreams. And this is another layer different from this inner child stuff.
Okay.
But children in general in our dreams are pointing often to our own potential and our own future development.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter if it's our own child or random children. It's pointing toward children are in development. All right. And so there's an aspect of ourselves that's always in development. We continue to grow and expand one way or another throughout our lifetime. And so there's an always becoming, which is sometimes represented by children. And there's a whole mess of children in this dream.
Yes.
In a moment that we're gonna see how you take care of them. So, okay. All right. How are we doing so far, Dreamer?
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We've kind of gone over the setting and a few of the characters.
Okay.
What happens next?
We're at this event and I'm like, I see the trees part and I can't see what's coming, but something huge is coming. And my uncle says, don't worry, there's a park nearby that does dinosaurs, but they're not huge. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
They're, and so at that point is when I'm like, oh, I better, because I'm seeing the trees part, I'm like, I better go get the kids.
Yeah. So something big is coming.
Yes.
All right. But there's an aspect of you that is downplaying that. It's not that big a deal. All right. So something big is coming. And we'll just make a notation that Uncle Mike says no big deal.
Right.
All right. Now let's think about that for a second. The dream is showing you something big is coming. But there's an aspect in the psyche that's downplaying it.
Yes.
That's downplaying it. All right. So if we think about it, this is sometimes how we talk to ourselves. In other words, when we've got something that we really need to attend to, psychologically speaking, we often limp along and don't attend to it because, oh, that's really not such a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, I can cope with this. And it might be related to ourselves. It might be related to a relationship. Really, I need to address this with somebody. Oh, it's too hard. It's too scary. No. It's no big deal. So I'm offering that there's something big coming, an aspect identified with a little bit of trouble,
All right.
is saying it's no big deal, but you're seeing that it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what that big deal is the most interesting thing, and that is it's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Okay. It is always worthy of note when things like this show up in our dreams, which
Mm-hmm.
are not possible in our
Yeah.
waking life.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a real heads up. We're in an important place. All right. So
Okay.
first, you tell me
Mm-hmm.
your impressions of what is a dinosaur.
Okay. Something that is gigantic, scary, spontaneous, out of control, maybe mean.
Okay. Can I add something?
Yes.
And I will add it in a different color so we'll know it's me,
Okay.
not you.
Okay.
It is ancient.
Yeah.
It is primitive. And sometimes we think about our own responses to stressors, the autonomic responses that we have to stressors,
Mm-hmm.
or we sometimes attribute that to our lizard brain. That may or may not be what
Okay.
this big guy represents.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, this is big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is big and it is old.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, and this is for you to ponder,
Okay.
if this has some kind of very long-standing, rooted in childhood response or way of thinking or way of reacting or maybe some sort of a childhood event
Mm.
that is coming to life in some sort of way
Okay.
that's being at because of the setting,
Yeah.
childhood. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That we sometimes talk about dinosaurs as being so old fashioned, old way. When we refer to somebody in a corporate setting as a dinosaur, it means they're stuck in this old pattern of doing things. They're dinosaurs. Dang. So
Right.
I'm thinking about that in what this might represent.
Right. Okay.
Now, what also is very interesting is your instinct to protect the children.
Yeah.
And over again, you made mention to getting them inside the
Mm-hmm.
fence.
Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts about that? What that might represent?
The only thing that I can kind of, I don't know, that I kind of think of is like when I was younger at my grandma's house, I had a bunch of cousins
Mm-hmm.
and we were always playing like in the front yard, which is where all these kids are.
Yeah.
We were always in the front yard playing. And we had this like row of bushes across the front yard, which kind of
Mm-hmm.
feels like a fence. And we were told, don't go too far beyond that because the road was right there. And
Yeah.
I don't know. That's really the only thing that I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking of was kind of that fence-like structure, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Okay. Let's think about this though psychologically a
Okay.
little.
All right.
So if there is some ancient primitive lizard brain thing that's trying to present itself to you, some old pattern of thinking, some old event, some old something that's now threatening to cause mayhem, the idea of a fence is often a boundary.
Okay.
A fence is a boundary.
All right.
Okay. And so there's this idea of examining your own boundaries, both internally as well as externally. So that's just something to
Yeah.
think about.
Okay.
And protect the children. What I said about children just a few moments ago is, the undeveloped or future self. To protect my future self, I need to get them inside the boundaries.
Okay.
Does that ring at all for you?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of boundary work.
Okay.
My adult children and my grandchildren, and just figuring out what the lines are with them, as like I said, they're getting older, and not overstepping boundaries with my grandchildren. And there's even some fear of me accidentally crossing a line and them keeping me out of their lives or out of my grandchildren's lives. There's a,
Mm-hmm.
a deep fear that I'll do something wrong, not meaning to do something wrong, and they'll, alienate me or push me out.
Dreamer, I think we're on the track of this
Mm-hmm.
because of the back and forth that you had with your son
Yeah.
as getting inside the fence.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think you may be onto it. And I hasten to add,
Yeah.
there's not a grandmother among us who has not had to negotiate this very thing.
Yeah.
When to say something and when to bite our tongue,
Right.
when to offer to do
Yeah.
anything, and when to wait for them to ask.
Yes. Yeah.
Dreamer, I'm in it with you, I promise.
Yes.
so know that. And I think most of us who have adult children, whether we have grandchildren or not, have got to negotiate this
Right.
as
Yeah.
they move into adulthood.
Yeah.
Just part of what we do. And
Right.
therefore, if we think about it that way, our dinosaur aspect maybe is our old way of dealing with our children.
Okay. Yeah.
And it then in this dream feels threatening.
Yeah.
And we need a boundary or two to understand how to protect the future.
Yeah. Okay.
So is that, are we on the right track, you think?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
You.
Okay. Now, what happened?
So so I get everybody safe,
Okay.
and then I see that it is a dinosaur and the tail, and it's making this horrible screeching noise that penetrates me. And I'm like, I'm in trouble. And I get in the closet and I shut myself in.
Okay. Do you ever see the head of the dinosaur or the
Nope,
face of the dinosaur?
just
Okay.
the tail. Just the tail.
All right. So you see the tail
Mm-hmm.
and you hear the screech.
Yes.
Okay. And then that leads to
The closet.
the closet.
Bedroom closet. I shut myself in.
Okay. And this is in grandmother's bedroom.
Grandma's bedroom. Right.
Okay. Say a word or two about grandma's bedroom in your memory. Was that a safe place, a good place?
No memory at all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's the thing about it. I have no memory at all. That was my grandmother's bedroom. All these years, I did not know that was her bedroom. My sister told me that.
Oh, wow.
She
Okay.
said we were not allowed in there.
Oh, okay.
Like it was forbidden. So, but I personally do not have a recollection of that room from childhood. I know what that room is now,
Uh-huh.
but back then, I no recollection that was their room.
Okay. This is so interesting, Dreamer. All right. tell me a little bit about the overall concept, not just this one, but the overall concept of a closet.
I think of, okay, a closet's where you store things. It's a place where you can go to get quiet, to have space. It's also a place where you hide.
And how long were you in this closet? Do you have a sense of that?
I have a sense it was just a few minutes.
Okay.
As soon as because the closet moved around, and as when it stopped, which it wasn't very long, I felt it was safe to come out. Almost like the tail or the dinosaur had already walked by, moved the closet. That was my sense. And then it was safe to come out.
Okay.
So not long.
Okay. So this, to me, this is such an interesting idea. These things that you have said, it's a place to store things, a place to go and get quiet and get space, and a place to hide. If we're thinking about this as a place in our psyche,
Yeah.
places where we store things like attics, basements, closets, we can think of that as a place in psyche where we've stored something, memory or an event, something. So there's that. Also the place to go to get quiet and get space and to hide. A closet is a very interior space.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very the inside of a room.
Yeah.
And so if we think about this psychologically, it is very much an inner space in ourselves. It's our own inner place where we are alone with ourselves to possibly examine what's in there, or at least to spend some time with ourselves.
Yeah.
That is often the call to do our inner work in this inner space.
All right.
And if we do our inner work, possibly the danger will pass. The dinosaur will not eat us up.
Right.
Or eat up the children, our future.
Yeah.
And it is safe. And so that's my suggestion around spending time in the closet in order to get safe.
Yeah.
So that's that idea. All right. And then what happens?
I come out and it's nighttime.
Yes.
And there are not a lot of people around. I don't know where they went. I don't know anybody. I just start moving with the crowd, with the flow, trying to find a safe place. As I'm doing that, that is when I notice stuff happening in the night sky and thinking, oh my goodness, is this some type of invasion? What is going on here? And then that's when I see the kids and their bigger selves over them as dinosaurs, really, and wake up.
Okay, so this is a real transition. Now we're moving out of grandmother's house. And that space that we're moving away from that. Now, let's talk about night and day a little bit in dreams. And then we'll kind of talk about transition, the movement.
Okay.
And then this sort of apocalyptic thing going on. So often when we transition from daytime to night in a dream, or from light to dark, we have entered, much like going into the closet, we have entered into an unconscious space.
Okay.
A place in the unconscious.
All right.
That is trying to be made known, or trying to be illuminated, if you will. So
Okay.
I'm gonna jot that down, that
Okay.
this may be a place in the unconscious.
Okay.
The night is also usually when we're sleeping and dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it's the place of the unconscious.
Okay.
So it's almost like going into the closet and spending that little period of time until it feels safe. Now we can keep going into the unconscious. It's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So and then there's this transition, this movement
Yeah.
into a new space. So this is a new place in Psyche. This is a new place within you that is unknown heretofore.
Okay.
Okay. New place within you. All right. And it's in an unconscious place so far.
Okay.
So can you describe a little bit more for us what was going on in the night sky? Like what was it?
It was like there were like bright white lines, like you would see on a map, like a road map, and they were highlighting, lighting up. And it looked like bright stars attached to the lines, and they were just lighting up. And then parts of it would go off, and then other parts would light up. But it was the whole night sky.
And what did this produce in you?
It produced in me like an anxiety about this is more these dinosaurs are not really dinosaurs, they're like some alien that we're being invaded. Anxiety.
Right. Sometimes what happens is, dreamer, that when something new is coming into consciousness,
Yeah.
when something new is coming into consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and it absolutely feels alien, it absolutely feels like an invasion. Here's what it is. In our day-to-day life, over the course of our years and months, we build a kind of what I'll call an ego stance. We build an idea of ourselves, who we are, what our roles are, an idea of ourselves and how we present to the world. We
Right.
just, we all do. We all have this is who I am kind of thing. And when new things come to consciousness, it often causes great anxiety because those new things that come to consciousness will
Mm-hmm.
call into question everything we thought we were.
Yeah.
And I'll try to give you a very quick, brief example from one of my own dreams as a way to think about this. I once dreamed that I had been captured by and held prisoner by, and my life was threatened by. I was in World War II and I was being threatened by Nazis.
Mm.
Now, obviously, I am not old enough to have been in World War II. But what I had to come to terms with, and what was so frightening, was that the Nazis in my dream represented an aspect of my own personality, which was coming to consciousness.
Okay.
And it was horrible. Talk about abject terror.
Yeah.
But this was an aspect of myself that I needed to come to terms with and understand about myself.
Okay.
Okay, so that gives you kind of a hint.
Yeah.
This idea of an alien invading may simply be a new idea coming into consciousness that the ego doesn't want to know about because it demands change.
All right.
And ego hates change.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. Ego hates change. So that's a possibility.
Okay.
Here, that
Yeah.
there's a new thing coming, and it may be about setting these boundaries with the children.
Right.
It may have to do with the shifting of relationship with those children.
Yeah.
It's new. It's
Yeah.
a new thing, but it may pertain to something else as well. And so in the days and weeks after we talk today,
Yeah.
you keep thinking about
Yeah.
that.
I will.
Or if an idea occurs to you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking when I'm thinking about the kids, I mean, the most important job I've ever had in my life was to be a mom.
Mm,
And the worst thing that anyone could ever tell me is that I was a horrible mom.
oh,
And it goes to my core.
mhm.
And so, these, still being a great mom to adult children, knowing my boundaries, and then my grandchildren, my son and his fiance are going to be married soon within the next few years. And then my middle daughter, they're thinking about leaving this area and moving a few hours away. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of just that.
Yeah, yes. And so all of this is happening, and then you see the the children lined up and their adults behind them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we're on to this. I really do. Do
I do.
you?
I do. I
Okay.
do. Uh,
Okay. So, and they are sheltered though. They're in some kind of.
They are. It's still outside, but they
Mhm.
have reminds me of like a large farm building with
Mhm.
like that outside ledge, and then you can get cover underneath. Kind of like just a great big shed, and there's all these kids lined up, I'm gonna say like 8, 9, 10 kids, and they're just gazing out at my direction, and they're seeing something, and then I see these themselves as adults behind them, and they're just totally unaware that these entities are behind them, and then I see that they're actually dinosaurs. I see them as like T-Rexes, and
Ah,
and
yeah.
that they're over the children, and then they start to like devour, you know, the children, and then I wake up in a panic.
Ah, ah. Okay.
Oh, it was such an odd dream.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking that, this aspect of the dream is we can think about this in all kinds of ways.
Mhm.
Here's the hard part about dreams is that there's a both and
Mhm.
in almost every one of these symbols. There's a both and.
Okay.
There's it's not an either or, it's a both and.
Yeah.
And so we have to be open to and we have to be open to multiple ideas around it.
Okay.
Okay. And what that often means too is that as we're working this with our waking life egos, yours as well as mine, we
Mhm.
have to be ready to acknowledge that our ego aspect may be getting it wrong.
Okay.
Ego often gets it wrong. What I'm thinking about here in that regard is this. First of all, there's still a shelter.
Mhm.
So there's still, I don't know, a hint of safety involved. Right.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to put that. All right. Now, each one of these 8 to 10 kids, again, we're thinking about the future. You don't recognize any of the children specifically.
No.
Okay. So these are still aspects of yourself going forward. And then there's the adults behind. So let's think about it this way. The kids are the potential and the future and moving forward. The adults behind, this is kind of backwards from waking life. The adults behind represent the older stuff,
Okay.
old stuff.
Okay.
And I think this might be a kind of watch out that the old ways, the dinosaur ways,
Yeah.
don't eat up the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this is the older ways. Often in dreams, when little children show up, babies show up, it really is moving forward. And an old person shows up. These don't sound like they're necessarily old, but
Yeah.
the old person shows up, is hearkening back,
Right.
older way of thinking. And I'm wondering if that's what this dynamic is.
Yeah.
That to be aware that the dinosaur way of thinking, if you will, the primitive way of thinking, you know, and also this guy, this T-Rex, he's not just a dinosaur. He's like the bad boy of all the dinosaurs.
He is.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it were my dream, I would say, where do I have the capacity for acting like a T-Rex?
Yeah.
Is it an anger thing? Is it a overreaction thing? Is it just a knee-jerk reaction thing? How am I a T-Rex?
Yeah. Yeah. I can be a T-Rex.
Oh, all right. Here we go.
I deal with lots of anger. Lots of knee-jerk reactions.
Okay. I think that's what the primitive aspect of dinosaurs is kind of all about. It goes back to that lizard brain where we just, so, okay.
Okay.
Now, I want to know, seriously, dreamer, if there's anything we have not touched on in this dream that still puzzles you or you want to go back to.
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Yeah. I want to hasten to remind you and everybody that we have gone down one pathway to thinking about what this dream is about.
Right.
But hold your mind open if something else occurs to you about what this dream is about. I think the fundamental structure of the dream, hearkening back to primitive thinking and so forth,
yeah,
it certainly may occur to how we are drawing our boundaries with our adult children, but it might also be in other places too, in our work, or our primary relationship with our spouse, or in some other place. It's worth keeping an open mind about that. Okay, great. All right, now here's the fun part. How to honor the dream. What do I mean by honoring the dream? What I mean is, honoring the dream is a little like sending a thank you note to the unconscious.
Okay.
Thank you for sending me this picture. I am willing to look at it. I'm willing to think about what it means.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we send that thank you note in the same language that the dream has sent the images to us. Okay. That is to say, we take one or more of the images in the dream and we manifest it in the waking life. Okay. For instance, we draw something, we make a drawing or representation of something in the dream, or we get something, we acquire a representation of it in a dream. Toy stores, toy departments of the Walmart are a good place to do this.
Yeah.
Or we do some significant journaling around it, or we do some list making, and we get to ask for another dream. Okay. One thing to do is get one of these representations or make one of these representations, keep it near you. And when you go to sleep at night, just the last thing you think about is, I'm willing to hear more. Okay. I'm willing for more information to come. I'm listening. In other words, I'm listening. Okay. Okay. So with that explanation, Do you have anything in mind that you would be willing to do to honor this dream?
I love the thought of going to a toy store and buying me a T-Rex
I love that.
and putting it on my desk,
Yes.
taking it to bed with me. Maybe even a
Yes.
stuffed animal, T-Rex. I don't know. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that idea. Okay. Anything else?
I think maybe I've already journaled about it. So maybe just making some lists
Mm-hmm.
around it of, some things that I learned about myself or that I might need to do, like a task list maybe.
Okay. I've got one. Do you mind if I
Sure.
suggest one?
Yeah.
Okay. I suggest while you're at the toy store getting
Mm-hmm.
the T-Rex, see if you can figure out a way to make or find something to make a fence,
Oh,
like a model fence,
yeah.
and, and stick the T-Rex inside of it.
Okay. All right. I like that.
I mean, you can take him to bed with you if you want to, but during the day, you might want to put a fence around him.
Okay. Sure.
How does that sound?
Yes. I like it.
Oh, Dreamer, do you feel like we got somewhere today? Seriously?
Yes. Yes, I do. I feel like this makes so much sense now. Thank you.
Oh, it has been my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing your dream with all of us today. I look forward to, if you're willing to share, I look forward to hearing some of
Okay.
what happens next.
I will. I'll be sure
Okay.
to do that. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.